we hear that women are tired of the emotional labor that comes with dating a black man.
Fully aware that I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I am so effing tired of the amount of emotional labor that comes with dating black men. I am so tired of the lack of commitment, the lack of support, the lack of encouragement, the lack of money. Like, I don't know what to do from this point on, but I can tell you one thing. My interest in dating another black man is like 1% at this point. They want us to be ride or dies until they get their shit together. And then they don't want to support us in return. They don't want to commit to us. They don't want to marry us. But then they want all the benefits of being a husband without actually proposing to us. I need someone who's intentional in every single aspect.
She needs someone who's intentional in every single aspect.
That was tough.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. And what you guys are going to hear right now is not scripted. It's not rehearsed. It has not been even discussed that long between Jay and I. We actually just wanted to just really straight up, raw, respond to this video because we can tell, A, by the amount of views it has over 810,000 views, 140,000 likes, 14,000 comments. And that's number one. So the reach
Clearly, people
metrics
got a
are
lot
there.
to say about it.
Yeah, and a lot of interest in it because as you know how the TikTok algorithm works, you know that it would not be up there that long if it wasn't getting attention. Two, we want to respond to it because we are black men who have a podcast that's about dating and mating. And while it's not specifically focused on the black community, we are black males and intentional in how we think about our blackness and how we move with our blackness and wanting to unpack this. And three, we've talked a lot about racial issues here, whether we talk about what we did for Black History Month this year, 2023, looking at the various aspects of sex related to the black experience in the United States, or we've even talked about interracial sex and also alluded to interracial sex in other episodes besides that episode. You can go back to the first season and listen to interracial sex. For those who are new here, our YouTube started the second season. So if you want to listen to that, you have to go back to the first season on the audio platforms, which are Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. First of all, let's just recognize this is somebody who is ranting on TikTok, and rants have become very big on TikTok as far as garnering attention. And I have no way of judging whether something is genuine or not, or it's just a marketing ploy or an opportunity to get eyeballs. But it seemed genuine, and it seemed come from somebody who had a lot of frustrations with dating black men. So I want to start from the top, the tippy top. Red Man, Method Man. From the tippy top, the emotional labor that comes with dating a black man. This is not the first time I've heard this. It's not the first time I've heard it from, I believe this woman is biracial, but she's black, and I think she's moving in her blackness. Shout out to her. Oh, always giving a shout out to the creator who put this there. Her name is Mykaela, Mykaela, Mykaela. Thank you for posting. And as always, we want to give credit to the creators who are informing our dialogue. I've heard this idea that emotional labor that dating black men is an emotionally intensive process. It's intensive for some because of the ways in which black men under-communicate. So communication is one. Two, it's an emotional labor-intensive process because of the expectations black men have on their women about either paying bills, right? So the finances, and also how she moves in the world. You can't be getting ahead of me. And getting ahead of me could be anything about her professional career, her professional come up, or her sense of freedom, going places with friends, paying for things, going out of her way to, live her best life. And you can't do that separate from me. You can't do that outside of us or me. So that's where I've heard the emotional labor piece come in. And it seems like she was echoing some of those sentiments that, black men expect, bear with me. I'm going through my thing. I have my traumas. I have my demo tape hasn't popped off yet. My business hasn't blown up. My LLC is still in formation. You're supposed to be supporting me and being there for me financially, spiritually, and physically, sexually. And the moment there's a break in that or disruption, or in some men's terms, expectation that exceeds their ability to pay, whether that's emotionally or physically or financially, then there's anger, there's the volcanic pyrotechnic reaction. And that's what makes emotional labor so hard, is that for some of these Black women, the men demand a constancy, a consistent execution out of their women, the cooking, the cleaning, the feeding, maybe the taking care of the children. But when it comes to their consistency, it's like
hit or miss.
Yeah, exactly. Up and down. For those who haven't seen the video, I got those who have just audio. I was doing up and down with my hands. A lot of mountain peaks and valleys, and for some women, more valleys than mountain peaks.
Yeah,
You're not doing your part, but you still want the booty. I mean, this is the whole song "Call Tyrone" was about. With Erica.
Yeah. Every time I ask you for a little cash, you say
Turn
no,
around.
but turn right around and ask me for some ass.
Wait a minute, brother. This ain't no cheap thrill.
Listen, even when that song came out back then, I personally did not know a lot of men who were sitting around on their fingers, twiddling their thumbs, expecting a woman to take care of them. I don't know guys like this personally. Now I know there are men out there that exist like that.
Big phenomenon now, man. It's a big phenomenon now.
But I mean, I'm saying even when that song came out, you know, I've been hearing about it since the '90s. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where on, you know, U.S. history timeline that really started to bubble up. But I'm just saying I have been hearing about it since the '90s. You know what I mean? It's the brother who, you know, they like you said, they take everything from you. Hands are always open, but their pockets are always closed. And it's obviously not just about a money thing. It's about a provision and a care and a, you know, there's some of that traditional expectation there for a man to be a provider and a protector and a leader and all of those things in the home or in a relationship. And like she said, they come in with the expectations that this woman, this Black woman, is supposed to fulfill all of these roles. But I'm really just supposed to get, those are the benefits of being a husband, but I don't actually bring husband qualities to this equation. I'm just saying, I don't really know people who are like that. I don't know a lot of guys who are like that, or maybe they don't know that they're like that. Maybe it's an unintentional thing. Maybe they're not self-aware. But I think, you know,
you don't know you home all day, not cooking, not cleaning, not contributing, not working.
I don't know. No,
what is this?
I don't know any
breaking theoretical physics. You're sitting. You're
honestly,
occupying
I don't know
time.
any man who does that proactively.
No, I'm not saying that you do. I'm just saying if that man is doing it, he doesn't know he's sitting at home on his couch all day.
Well,
space and time.
I was going to say those circumstances are really kind of over. There's no way to kind of move around them. But I'm talking about somebody who
there may be nuances.
They may feel like, yo, wait a minute. I actually did. I've been taking out the trash every day this week, but you didn't realize that the trash got backed up because you were supposed to take it out last week and you didn't.
And that is kind of like your modus operandi, where you always leave things to the last minute, and then it gums up so many things that we're working on, whether that's our goals, whether that's sexually or whatever. You're always kind of a last minute individual, which to me, and again, I'm not one of these women, seems to be more of a relationship issue that needs to be unpacked in therapy or some kind of clinical environment, not the kind of dude who is really just a time and energy vampire. You know, that to me is what some of these women seem to be alluding to. And just to go back to what you said, there has been just a large number of men I've been hearing about who stay home, play video games, and they don't do anything. Yeah. I mean, nothing.
I mean, you told me, you know, offline about your man talking about people being claimed as dependents, whole adults.
Well, trying to be claimed as dependents, not going to be claimed as dependents, but they're not doing anything. I mean, they're not working. They're not looking for a job. They're not cooking. They're not cleaning. They're not contributing in domestic life or nor in the financial life.
So they're a man by biology, physiology, but not culture.
Fuck wants to get into fucking these kinds of arguments. Matt Walsh over here.
No,
Like, what's a man?
but I mean seriously though, maybe that's the reason why I don't know too many of them, because I don't know too many people in general who don't have goals for their
Yeah.
life, who are not out here trying to better their situation in some kind
Yeah,
of
me
way.
neither. I mean, I was kind of shocked too. I mean, even the men I spoke to about these instances are like, yo, they're not doing anything. They're not even cooking. I mean, men who people think don't think about cooking or cleaning or domestic life. We're saying, hey, wait a minute, son, you got to put that vacuum cleaner in your hand.
Which
You
is
got
why I'm like, how do we know that this is real data? Is it all from, you know what I mean? I don't know if
son,
that's a
come
real
on.
archetype, but we would have to do that though. We would have
No,
to
we
ask
have to
that
do the
question
quantitative
only
analysis.
because this person might be an experience that someone had. Well, actually, no. I mean, I guess this is one of those if there's smoke, there's fire type of things, right? Like
Yeah,
if 800 and something thousand people had interest in this, there has to be some kind of truth to it, right?
well, I mean, you could argue that, hey, man, it's always good to run down black people. And there's people love that type of content, to run down the black person. When black people run down black people, it's like when the conservative says, oh, the reason why blacks are, underrepresented, undervalued, because we keep pissing on our own communities. I mean, that kind of, there's always room for that. I believe, though, based on the women I'm speaking to and the women in my cipher, again, it's not quantitative, it's anecdotal. There is, right, this archetype, or this reoccurring theme rather, of, right, black men who expect a lot and demand a lot but don't give a lot. So you need to be there for me, you need to let me borrow your car, show up and put some money down on my demo tape, put some money down on my business, put some money down. I need some help, help pay off my child support. I just, I need help here, I need help there. And the moment the woman asks for, well, I've done those things faithfully and consistently, where is my commitment? Well, I'm just going through something right now. And if you would just be understanding, you would know that if I had my stuff together, we would be together already. I told you this already. You just need to give me a little bit more time. And this is the problem. You don't like to listen and you don't like to help. And you give me a little bit of money, but if you was really about it, you would just really take that extra money and really help me get my donut shop off the ground so that we could really be settled. And then you would get what you want.
Yeah, I've been trying to tell you, but you've just been so guarded lately that it hasn't been easy to be transparent about these issues that I'm going through and that I'm facing. But I feel like there has to be some kind of regulation to this conversation or some type of balance board, right? Because I feel like both men and women come into relationship scenarios with expectations. So I don't know that, and I mean, I almost hear just based on the way that relationships go or are supposed to go, most women get to come and do nothing up front. The expectation all kind of lies on the man. Like the man has to come and show value first. The man
Which,
has to come in and show that he brings something to the table first, that he can provide, that he can protect, and he can do all of these things, right? And so it's like there's expectation that comes from both ends. But so where's the regulation at? When is it okay for a guy to be like, well, yeah, I do expect you to lend me the car because I've shown you that I have value and I can actually put gas in your car and you can trust me with, like, when does that happen?
but women we're talking about say they don't even put gas in the car. The dude don't put gas in the car, and if he puts gas in the car, it's from her money. It's not from his
It's
own.
only that $1.50 to get him home and get
Yeah,
back to
exactly. I'm riding on fumes, sipping on some. Yeah. So that's what they're saying. They would actually welcome that as a very nice change to their relationship.
But I mean, just in general, the concept of expectations, like how do we regulate that? Like how do we kind of explain to people or make people okay with expectations that are normal and natural in a relationship? Like just like you can expect for people's expectations to come like this. Because I feel like you're talking about, there are a lot of men I hear who complain about that, and they bemoan and begrudge and bitch moan and complain about, well, yo, I gotta come and be masculine first for her to show up in her feminine. Like, yeah, what's wrong with that
Yeah.
expectation?
Well, it's the hunter mentality. I was talking about this with another dude who he's like, I love the chase. And so a lot of men who are hunters, they love hunting. And a lot of women like to be, I say hunted, but they like to be chased or to be
Pursued, yeah,
pursued
for
is
sure.
a better word.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of men who like to hunt and a lot of women like to be pursued. So when you're in that dynamic, most men don't have a problem putting it out on the front end because they just see that as part of the dynamic to achieving their goal. whatever their goal may be, for everything from sex dating and mating to full blown marriage and settling with that woman. They understand they have to initiate. When my grandfather married one of my grandfathers married my grandmother, he made his intentions known. He went to her father and he made it known. So he was doing all the legwork up front and showing and displaying not only to her but to her family and to their community that he was ready to be with this woman, claim this woman, and cultivate a thriving life with this woman, which he did do for 45 years of marriage. I think a lot of us, when we talk about men nowadays, they don't see that necessarily as the path to dating and mating or the path to even being coupled because they don't want to be coupled. A lot of them, I believe, are using women as ATM machines. And that's what some of the women would say. And I think there's also a value there, right? Being the Mac, being the pimp, being the dude who gets her to go into her wallet, but you ain't got to go into yours. There's a big part of that, that thread, that logic that's a part of modern dating. Some would even say even in the Black community. I'm sure it's in the white community, other communities as well, but we're talking about Black men. So let's just keep it, where we're at, the target conversation. And they just see that as ideal, right? So, if you're putting out and I'm juicing you and squeezing all the juice out of you, why would I then turn around and you're the banana? Well, you're the orange, right? I'm squeezing you for the juice. I don't squeeze the juice out of me; it comes out of you. So you're the thing I'm using and using to produce whatever I need to produce or whatever I want for myself.
So there's no way to tell. Well, I mean, I guess a man just has to want to walk in that space. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I think to your point, there are men who are showing that when that's their intention, but there are a lot of guys who might be dating knowing that that's not their intention.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, but it's like they get in the situation. But then it's just like, all right, guys, we got to come up with a game plan. Man, we got to
Well,
come up with a game plan. We have to come up with a game plan of how do we message to women, I like you. Not even I want to see where this goes. I really want to be able to hang out with you, enjoy some time. We can make physical intimacy. We can keep that like based on our comfort level. But like, I really just want to see you, hang out with you, connect with someone, enjoy our time together. But I don't want this to bring on the expectation of because I'm getting something from you emotionally, I have to show up the way that you would expect a man to show up fully who wants to be with you. Because
but
I mean, I think a lot of dudes genuinely want that scenario where they do want companionship and they do want to just get to know somebody. They don't necessarily have to be engaged in physical intimacy. So it might be what they call all of the quote unquote benefits of a husband, but they don't demand physical intimacy. And there are guys like, so I guess how do we message that? How does that get
yes,
messaged to
son.
women so that the expectation and it is not, and they don't end up feeling disappointed? Because I feel
I
like I
think
know more guys who are eligible bachelors who want to go through a process of getting to know a woman genuinely. They want to see where it goes, but they don't want to lead someone on.
and no sex.
And they're like, yeah, they're cool with no sex being a part of the scenario
Okay.
until both they and the other person feel comfortable with it. Because sometimes, like, believe it or not, there are women out here who are initiating that.
Oh no, no, yeah. Women are talking about sex, and
So
absolutely,
it's
it's
not
not men just being
necessarily,
horn dogs walking
yeah.
through the streets.
So it's just like when there's a comfort level for both people to do it without the second guessing, without the having to worry about tomorrow if they care about you. Like y'all know that y'all both respect each other. There's a mutual respect. There's a mutual care and concern for one another. But you're not necessarily in a place where you want to see it go further, even though you're open to it. I mean, I've heard people say just have the conversation, but that seems to go in one ear and out the other.
So,
It gets deemed you're wasting my time or you're being a fuckboy because you got me out here engaged in all of this stuff, but you don't know what you want with me.
but when we go back to the creator Michaela, what she was talking about was right lack of encouragement. I was looking at my phone to double check. Lack of encouragement, lack of support, lack of money, there seems to be always a drain on the woman in order to keep the connection, whatever that may be, whether it be light and bright or dark and heavy.
Yeah,
There's a
whether it's a
drain on the
situationship,
woman,
sneaky link, or anything else.
exactly,
Yeah,
to keep it moving. And that drain just eventually puts that person down the drain. They become Drano. They go right down the drain into the water treatment plant, recycled, and out into the river. So, the larger body of water. So this is not, this is not the first time I'm hearing this. Uncreative, like, black men who are not creative, they're not helpful. It just looks like they're taking up space, and more important, they're taking up that person's time.
yeah, that's always a big thing. You can't get that back.
You can't get that back. So, this is the emotional labor is what she's talking about. Now, the flip side of that, though, and it's interesting not to get too deep into it because I don't want to lose focus on this ep, is sometimes I've heard black women accuse black men of taking better care of non-black women than they do black women. So we have seen, right, there's the Muslim woman with the hijab who's saying, yo, marry black men, they treat their women great.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that from other women, other black women have accused and said, nah, they'll treat the Latina, the Dominican, the Puerto Rican, the Peruvian, the Costa Rican, the Honduran, the El Salvadorian, the Chilean. They'll treat them like, the king of Zamunda, rose petals on her feet, foot massages, bills are paid, making sure he's doing everything for that Russian woman, from that woman from Uzbekistan, for that Korean woman, from that Japanese woman, for that Arab woman. But let it be a sister. Let it be a woman who has the BLACK as an adjective before woman. And you ain't going to get all that. You're going to get bare minimum. You're going to get barrel scraping scraps.
Where there's much weeping.
Gnashing of teeth. She's getting bottles of wine. I'm getting OE, water bottles.
E&J.
E&J. Mad Dog Twin. She getting $100 bottles of wine from the elegant wine store down the block. And it's like, I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
I'm not worthy. I'm not even worth it.
Yeah.
Forget even you can entertain. Well, let me just see, because I got different women on deck, and let me just see who's gonna. No, there's different women on deck, and it's every woman but you, black woman.
Yeah.
But you, dark skinned woman. But you, even light skinned black woman. It's just, if you're here, I'm gonna run up in that vagina, beat it down for a little bit, and then I'm going to end up over here. Now, we know that statistically and quantitatively not to be true. 83 to 87% of black men, I don't know if it fluctuates from year to year, but overall I've heard the average 87%, actually 88% marry black women.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that quantitatively to be, false. But there seems to be this impression that when black men get with these other women, like the brother who, God rest his soul, he got stabbed, that came out that he was saying he doesn't like black women, they're nasty, this, and you're willing to put up with these white women in all their performative performative tricks and behaviors. Yet, a sister says, hey, you do owe me half rent for 2 months. I bet you, who the fuck you think you talking to? I bet you lucky I'm with you, you dark and fat and black. And
yeah,
that's again the impression that's being given. That's part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the emotional labor. Yeah. I got to do for you. I got to show up for you. I got to make it happen for you.
I mean, that's real. I'm pretty sure it comes from a genuine place.
Mm-hmm. I think
I'm trying to lead with that. I really wanted to lead with that this conversation. I think there was a part of me that initially, obviously, when I heard it first, I was just like, oh, I had some choice words for Miss Michaela. I had some very choice words for her, and they weren't necessarily like. It was just more so like, almost kind of how you talk about when people want to justify having a bias against someone, they will say, basically use hyperbole and be like, oh, everybody from that community is like this.
Yeah, I just saw the famous red pill woman say that women are evil because she's doing a documentary on divorce. And then she said women are evil and gave a scenario where it was a very evil intent from the ex-wife during the divorce. If it's true, what she did and or is doing, I mean, situations like that. But to say that this documentary is making me realize women are evil. If we were to say then to that person who's a white woman, well, all white women are evil. Would that be logical?
I mean, obviously, yes.
Because there's accusations that she doesn't pay her workers. She knocked off her business partner she started her business with. She's had a couple of faux pas, if you want to call them. She's let a racist come on her show, at avowed white supremacist, and say and do things on that show that were wrong, that were against her brand and her brand audience, which is mainly a good number of black people and black men. So now, after me entertaining you and listening to you, are white women evil? I mean, these are just statements that are just getting outlandish and out of hand. And yes, I've heard them towards men too. Of course,
Well,
I'll admit
that's
that
kind
as
of how I
well.
felt when I was listening to this. It was a very thoughtful tongue lashing, but it was still a tongue lashing nonetheless. And only because I have an issue with sweeping generalizations like that. Even I mean, obviously don't know. I obviously know she wasn't talking about all black men. Like I know that was in reflection to her experience and what she's dated.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I feel like to publish content like that that calls out a specific group
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and only talk about this very scathing and kind of demonizing narrative that's been associated to this community without talking about some of their more charitable characteristics. It just wasn't a holistic conversation. And not that it needed to be. I just always have an issue when a group is called out like that and only talked about in a specific light. And like you talked about being a black man, I don't feel like I'm like that. And I know what my trouble areas are. I'm very self-aware. And I think I'm doing the work to kind of be better at those things. So it's like I know that there might be guys out here with character flaws, but there are black men out here who are doing the work to make themselves better. So and again, my other point was I don't really know too many black men, if at all, who fit the bill for what she was talking about or
Oh, I agree
describing.
with her. Well, I totally agree with her.
And
I'm
so,
sorry. I mean, I totally agree with you that I don't think there are a lot of I don't know any black men who fit that bill.
so I was going to say that was the reason why initially I had some words that I had some words for her, but I really want to try to lead with understanding in this because I could hear the frustration in her voice. So I know it's coming from a genuine place. I'm not trying to affirm her experience or what
But
she's
you can't.
saying,
Yeah, yeah.
but I do want her to feel heard and understood and know that, yeah, there is some accountability in this conversation. I mean, those were the fruits of your choices, but it doesn't mean that there aren't men out here that you're going to come across or that you haven't come across that you haven't really learned how to see and appreciate those qualities in them. And it may not have been in a dating or romantic context. So it's like, I, I don't know what your emotional labor capacity is with your dad or your brothers or friends that you have, but I think it's a disservice to just say overall or in general that there's an emotional labor that's attached to dating a black man.
She's tired. Yeah, she's tired of giving it.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I understand the frustration
I,
because I would say the same. I have been through the same thing, heard the same thing about black women.
yes, I have heard the same thing for some communities dating white men. Right? They can't
That there
see.
takes a lot of emotional labor.
Well, yeah, especially when it comes to race or certain kind of points of oppression that they can't see or ignore or blatantly ignore
Hmm.
in their relationship. But not all white men are like that. Just like all black women aren't contentious. Just like all black men aren't lazy. What I think this is going on is that in our community, the black community, specifically in the black, I would say 25 to 45 community, well, with 33 to the 45 community, there's just, I think, a lot of pressures going on biologically, psychologically, socially, financially. And it really is like a camel going through the eye of a needle and trying to figure out how you're going to create a sustainable, healthy relationship amidst all these pressures that are there. And when that does not happen, we at times, through our pain and our anger, rely on certain tropes or turn to certain anecdotal rhetoric, right? That is not helpful for moving the conversation forward, or even interpersonally moving our relationships forward. That doesn't mean I don't think she's saying it's false. I've had a few conversations with Black women where I think they would connect with that. They would connect with what she's saying. But then I wonder at times if the women I know who were with Black men who were not Black, right? Like, to go back to my earlier point, who would say something different.
Yeah, no,
That again, that doesn't mean
that
anything. It's all dirty data, so it's not giving any. There's no signals there. It's a bunch of noise, but it's interesting to see how that would play out.
yeah, I know we coming up on time, so to wrap it
Yeah.
up.
With that being said, thank you guys for listening. Interesting episode. This is just raw, off the cuff. Check us out on TikTok at Love God Love Sex Pod. Go ahead and follow us at YouTube at Love God Love Sex Pod. Go ahead and subscribe. Google Podcast, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Those are all our audio platforms at Love God Love Sex Pod. Go ahead and leave a rating, 5 out of 5. Let a comment. Let us people know how much you're enjoying the podcast. And if you don't like the podcast and you think we suck, email us, connect at lovegodlovesexpodcast.net. Let us
Facts.
know how we can improve and be better stewards of your time and of your energy. And that's the episode for today. Until next time, take care.
Peace.